Throughout the coronavirus pandemic, Asian Americans have faced an escalation in incidences of hate, violence, and harassment as the result of systemic, deeply entrenched racism, misinformation, and inflammatory anti-Asian rhetoric from leaders.
The Chinese virus, Kung Flu.
Here's what you can do in light of a series of horrific attacks, whether you're an ally or a member of the community itself. First, support nonprofits and community groups. Advocacy and community groups have called on their supporters to share their work online and donate to on-the-ground safety measures and legal advocacy work. And there's plenty of options if that's what you're interested in. For starters, GoFundMe launched its own #StopAsianHate campaign with the AAPI Community Fund. It's a donation portal that collects and redistributes donations to community organizations that are working to rectify racial injustice within Asian American and Pacific Islander communities. You might also donate to Stop AAPI Hate, a reporting center founded in March 2020 to document the increasing rates of anti-Asian American sentiment. The center documents and responds to incidences of hate, violence, harassment, and other forms of abuse. You can also share your own stories on the site, which helps grow the organization's advocacy efforts. There's also Asian Americans Advancing Justice, a nonprofit legal advocacy group working to ensure equal protections for Asian American communities. You might donate to the network or to one of its local affiliates working on the ground in Atlanta, Los Angeles, and other cities. And of course, you can always look for local organizations doing similar work near you. Second, learn about bystander intervention. Bystander intervention programs help teach allies and community members how to respond to and de-escalate instances of racist attacks or harassment. One place to start is with the nonprofit Hollaback. Hollaback is an anti-harassment nonprofit that provides safety and intervention training for women, people of color, and the LGBTQ community. The organization has collaborated with Asian Americans Advancing Justice to host bystander intervention and de-escalation trainings in light of increased attacks. You might look into those or Hollaback's other bystander intervention tools. The Southern Poverty Law Center has also published its own guide on responding to racism towards Asian Americans during the COVID-19 pandemic. The guide covers how to respond to particular forms of rhetoric that could lead to violence. It's important to note that in any intervention situation, you need to ensure your own safety first. And of course, your own identity will impact your comfort with public confrontation. In many cases, public intervention tools will be most accessible to white allies. Meanwhile, the Stop Hate Project operates a hotline to report instances of discrimination. If you witness discrimination, you can call the hotline at 1-844-9-NO-HATE. Reading and sharing personal accounts from victims of racist attacks helps build awareness of the deep, long-standing legacy of racism towards Asian Americans within the United States. Lastly, advocate for anti-discrimination legislation. Beyond individual actions to stop the rise in hate crimes, activists believe that policy at all levels needs to reflect a commitment to anti-discrimination policies. While legislative commitments might largely be seen as symbolic, they might also show that political leaders are willing to move away from the explicitly anti-Asian American rhetoric that we saw throughout the pandemic. A report from Stop AAPI Hate in October 2020 showed that there had been a rise in anti-Asian rhetoric and xenophobic comments made by politicians throughout this last year. Following and getting involved with advocacy and community organizations online can help you find legislation to support. You can then urge your representatives to support policies at all levels that explicitly protect these communities and make the U.S. a safer place for all.